Hey YouTube, welcome to another episode of Aiden's Builds. This one's a little bit different. We're going to be doing shop work today. This is also my boss, Sen. This is the man that's taught me everything I know about engine building. How long you been doing this?
Oh geez, 50 years.
50 years. How long you been doing the outboards?
I've been doing outboards. I started outboards back in '84, racing mod VPs, and it's just been a passion for me. Two strokes forever, but with the current technology, you got to switch to four strokes. And being an automotive mechanic, it was a natural, easy transition because I've found a lot of these two-stroke guys from olden days, they don't have the training on the four strokes, and being in the car industry with variable valve timing and so on, it's been an easy switch over for us. And I can't believe the way Aiden's come along in the last 2 years. He's just a natural, and he's got a passion for building motors. And he actually does most of my builds now.
I wouldn't have been able to do it without you.
Well, you're welcome, and I enjoy having you here, and we work well together.
So today we're going to be tearing apart this F225. What was wrong with this engine before?
This thing has a knock, so we have to determine where the knock's coming from. So we'll have to disassemble the whole thing, whether it be piston slap or a connecting rod bearing. It doesn't sound like a main, so it's sort of a reciprocating wrap. So you got to do a full tear down and assess all our bearing clearances, mic our pistons and piston to bore clearance, and you guys are along for the ride.
All right, what do you say we tear this thing apart?
Let's do it.
So before we actually get to the teardown on this, we have to separate the power head from the midsection, so we're going to start with that. This also, the first YouTube video, we have the mics. They should last 8 hours, I guess we'll see. But with that, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Feels like a while since we've done a teardown together, eh?
Yeah.
What the boys listen to growing up?
A Tupac.
I got a lot of that on here.
Yeah, a lot of Tupac. Nelly.
Oh yeah. This is Raekwon playing right now. Got a lot of Wu-Tang.
That's it. The Wu-Tang Clan. That's it. All four of them. Non-stop action with those boys.
It's even these, I see already. These were, they got the gasket stuff on it.
Right.
The base is probably reused. Got almost all the bolts off. Now we just want to get our electrical connections and all our water lines off, and then we'll continue, and that'll be nothing holding us back when we actually go to separate this. Now it's time to pull this thing, so we're going to take the last two bolts off and see if there's anything hanging up when we go to lift it. Ready?
Loose.
Up she goes. Some holding her.
Looking at the back.
Yeah. Oh, looks like one more bolt. Gonna drop her down. Let's go again. How are we looking this side?
Let's have a look.
Oh, something's holed up here. It's your oil pressure
good.
sensor. Just the dipstick tube. And we're good.
So someone's done a power head repair on this at some point, and they didn't reuse.
Or they did reuse the gasket.
They reused the gasket, yeah, instead of a new gasket.
Silicone special.
Excuse me.
So now we've got the power head off. The next step's going to be to undress it for the teardown. It's usually easiest to start with the electronics and kind of the accessories. So we're going to go and start with that.
I usually have to disconnect all the sensors. Electrical. Push together and release. Or to protect your eyes when you're doing this, may still be some residual pressure.
The last thing you want is a gasoline bath, especially early in the day. I know I've done it before.
I won't tell you how many times I've done it.
You got a couple years on me doing this.
There we go. All right, so we bring everything over together in our bin. It all stays together.
Planning's all part of the process. When you're taking this apart, you got to think about putting it back together. So leaving as much stuff intact as you can just makes your life a little bit easier down the road.
We missed the part where we swept the floor because we tend to drop stuff just like that. And if the floor is clean, it makes it a lot easier to find it.
You'd almost think that was scripted or planned. You dropped that on purpose, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, they got butterfingers. Difficult working with gloves, but no glove, no love. That's what the wife says.
How did the SHOs compare to this?
Very similar. This is a 3.3 liter, and the newer SHOs are 4.2 liter. This one doesn't have the variable valve timing, which makes it a lot simpler motor to work on in terms of, well, it's really not any simple. It's just 4 less pulleys. This flywheel is magnetic, so I just stick them on there.
That way they're not going to get lost.
Let's go to top dead center, if we can. This timing bolt. There.
Mark there, and then a mark here.
Okay, so we're past top dead center.
Yeah.
So if we can rotate this back.
So Sen, what's the benefit of finding top dead center when we pull this apart?
Just so our valves, I'm going to take our valve train apart. we have a reference, and it double checks, see if the timing was off. Possibly whoever worked on this last may have mistimed it, which looks to be correct because these line up parallel to the cylinder head surface, because the angle's right there.
Looks like here, is that a reference point on the block, or is it this mark here where it meets up at the back of the crankcase?
No, it's there's a pointer.
Yeah.
And the pointer.
So it looks like
we lined up both pointers, so there we go.
Looks like we're good, actually. So that'll be in line there, right?
Yeah. Good.
Are we 180 out here? Spin it around one more time, double check.
Yeah.
Coming up.
There you go. So now we're top dead center compression stroke. Before previously we're at top dead center of the exhaust stroke.
Timing was 180 degrees out, but it looks like this thing's timed properly, so.
Yeah, it does. So now we
can
our timing belt off and release our tension.
Can eliminate that too, is one of the possible problems with this. Let's see, it was timed properly.
Okay, so normally there's a 10 millimeter, and we just this is a 3/16 Allen key, which I find on the other motors works well. So just lock that tensioner in the release position. This feels very tight.
Problem with these is they're aluminum too. There's a lot of pressure on that belt. Sometimes you'll break that, but it looks like this one's actually moving.
There we go, in place. Now we can release the pressure on. It's got a hydraulic cylinder in there that you compress, and that releases the tension on the belt. So now we can just pop our belt, set our belt up and off.
Even with the tension off, they're still pretty tight. Feels like sometimes, especially those dual overhead cams, when they have the variable valve timing, you really got to fight with them.
So now we inspect our belt. Seems to be in pretty good condition. Looks like it has been replaced fairly recently. You can read the part number. So we'll save that.
What we're doing where we can too is the bolts that come off, we're putting back into the block. It's just gonna make it easier. It's time to reassemble things.
Thermostats are new, so somebody did some work on this. May have had a service.
It's funny sometimes as you pull these apart what people cheap out on or what they'll replace. I mean, brand new thermostats, but they couldn't be bothered to replace the base gasket. Having said that though, the base gaskets on these are pretty expensive. What do they go for on these, Sam?
133 Canadian.
133 Canadian. Is that including shipping and stuff?
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I am going to leave my 3/16 Allen socket in there. I'll probably be looking for it one day. Blaming Aiden. Aiden, where'd you put my...
I get blamed for everything.
I can't blame myself.
There's something I've learned while doing this. Just because something looks new or looks good doesn't necessarily mean it is. We test everything before it goes back into the block, just to make sure that it's in proper working order. We even get new parts sometimes and clean them, because there can be stuff left over from machining processes, so why risk it, right? For the 2 seconds it takes to clean something.
Okay, these I'm going to put this hardware in the rocker cover so it all stays together.
Now we have here, it's just a short block at this point. All the sensors, everything's removed off it.
It's our long block.
Long block, sorry, yeah.
We usually refer to short block as rotating assembly less the cylinder heads.
So what would that count as? Just your crankshaft, your pistons?
Yes, crankshaft pistons installed. And not necessarily the oil pan either, just the rotating assembly.
I think that's just condensation.
I'm not sure. I think it looks a little excessive.
Looks a little bit milky there. You never want to have your oil look like that. Not on the boat, not in anything really. It's like that in your car, you got a major coolant leak.
Might have been the issue with this. Maybe a cracked head or two.
How does your side look? You see anything?
Well, it's got the same color on it.
Same color.
Pulling these camshaft caps, they are in a numbered sequence, so it's impossible to mix them up, but we have to assemble them in the same position. All right, we're back.
Pulled the first cams out anyways. What do you think of them, Sen?
I don't know. I see quite a bit of scoring on this cam journal here. So, and the fact that we've got water intrusion, the oil looks a little milky. I'm thinking we've got 3.3 liters of scrap here, because with this kind of damage, the camshaft journals are going to be damaged, which is the oil comes up through the cylinder head ports, and lack of lubrication is going to cause us low oil pressure and cause this thing to self-destruct. Anyways, we're in for a dime, in for a lot of dollars.
Gonna keep pulling it apart.
Keep going.
See if anything's salvageable on this block.
Like the lobes themselves look to be in good shape, but they're scoring on the journals. Especially right here. I don't know if you can see that. Things are not happy.
So you're thinking the cams are shot. Is there anything you're really hoping salvageable on this block?
What we haven't looked at is the underside of the cam bearings. And there is some galling. So I'm going to say these heads are shot. I am still going to mark the lash pads because it's habit.
He's been cleaned.
Yep. So you're going to explain to them why we do this, Aiden?
Yeah, so we mark the lash pads because I like to think of the head kind of as a whole unit, and everything's mated, it's married for life. So the lobes, everything are gonna go back together, but the most important reason—
If we use it.
if we use it, yeah. But clearance, right? So these should, in theory, have the right clearance. Obviously, when we put this, if we put this back together, we'll double check just to make sure. But if not, it's certainly a good starting point. And everything just kind of wears evenly too. We obviously have our exhaust side, and this is our intake side.
We are ready.
That's the enforcer.
My daddy says, don't send a boy to do a man's job. It's important. Use the right tool for the job.
I've made that mistake before on head bolts, remember that?
Yeah.
Broke the snap-on ratchet.
These are not as tight as the 4.2 liters. There were new head gaskets on this, it looks like, Aiden.
Yeah, it does look like that. Guess we'll know for sure when we pull it off here.
And we break these loose normally in the reverse sequence of the way we torque them down.
What's the reason for that, Sen?
Well, main thing is prevent cylinder warpage, and you get cylinder head warpage, and you get a proper seal that way if you don't have cylinder head warpage.
Okay. It also helps preventing the gasket from getting pinched. This pinch is obviously not sitting flat. It's not going to do its job and seal.
It's awkward working that way, pulling up. I like to push down. I was trying to stay out the way of the camera. So I'm just going to block you guys out for a while.
Job's easier with two people too. Just the force they're torqued down with takes to break them off. Sometimes end up moving the block. See, we're working on a table. You wouldn't want it falling off. It is chained up though, so it wouldn't go very far. Still not the most fun thing to deal with.
I'm pretty impressed with those Milwaukee tools.
Definitely game changer. Let's see what we got.
Whoa. Okay. Wow.
What do we think?
For some reason, that looked... I don't see any evidence of a combustion leak. But again, there's
Looks like water in that oil.
definitely water in the oil.
Top of the pistons look pretty good. You can see the mark still from being honed. I don't think this thing was ran very long after that rebuild.
No, it had, well, this is it. I bought it as a rebuild that had an issue. And we're right, it has an issue. It was rebuilt, nice cross hatching on the cylinder walls. Pistons are fairly clean, but I think the cracked head or something took the bearings out.
Tear it apart further and see if we can't find what the problem is. If there is an issue with these heads, there's nothing real evident anyways. Can't say I see anything.
Well, if you don't see it, my eyes definitely are not going to see it. Because you spotted the last 5 cracked heads that we've worked on.
Get this out of the way and we'll continue disassembling.
Again, nice cross hatching on the bore. Definitely wearing on the thrust side.
That looks like some serious wear there.
Yeah, that's probably a piston slap problem. That might be the knock that we were hearing. That looks really nice there. Over here, this one. Again.
Same, they all seem to kind of...
Yeah. It's had a new piston up here. That's around compression ratio piston. So this thing's definitely been apart. Water in the oil. Problem with that is to properly pressure test these heads, we have to have a plate made up and before we can even pressurize them. Therein lies the problem, making up a special plate, the gasket and sealer, and trying to determine where our crack is. Well, it could be a port head, could be a starboard head, or it could be cracked somewhere in the block. So I think we've just got a nice clean looking salvage motor here. Doesn't look as if the head gaskets were
the problem.
And a good seal there. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah. So what are you checking for there?
I'm just checking for if I can feel any play in the connecting rods, which would indicate our knock before we do take them apart. You can feel number 4 to me feels a little wonky. Let's tip this over so these guys can see.
Now we know too, it's easy for us to look back and see the parts and remember, like as we saw that number 6 up on the bench there had the piston slap. So when we take these out, we can kind of look back at the piston, look back at the board, know what went where.
Inspect the crankshaft.
Yep.
Keep the journals. Everything in sequence.
I think we're good to pull this apart.
Let's go. See, that's impressive. My snap-on gun wouldn't have cracked those loose.
The other reason we mark these is these connecting rods will only mate with each other. They are split, and they also have mark there. Sometimes they're a little bit tight coming out.
Something's gone through it.
Do you think that alone would be enough to cause a knock?
No.
Same thing, bearing scored.
Crank journals
don't look scored.
They don't look bad. They look pretty good actually.
Yeah. That sometimes is a win on its own. The price of the crankshafts. If we can reuse them, that's a big win. Oh yeah.
There it is. Ooh, there it is. We're in the camera there.
A little bit of an oil leak too. Yeah, that's scoring.
Wow, that's that replacement piston. So I think that would be more likely.
You can see how new it is. The other side still has the marks on the skirt. See that?
Yeah. Yeah. So this thing needs to be bored.
Oh, it would cause something to wear kind of the way that did, just sort of one side.
I know it's, if the piston pin, I could see it. If the piston pin itself was tight, it would cause it to put pressure on the one side. Some machining went through, because it's obviously been part and built. So somebody, some filing, something, dirt, not cleaned properly, and ends up in the new build. This crank looks to be in really good shape.
Of course, we can't really say the same for the bearings, but that's a lot cheaper than a crankshaft. It's like that guy there is a replacement as well.
Yeah.
Another new piston. Skirt. That one looks a lot nicer than our other one though still. Number 6. This is the one I'm really curious about because that looks like
that's the one you felt.
Yeah, it looks like it had the worst wear too on those walls.
I had my money on number 4, but I've been wrong before. There, it looks good.
You know, for all the marks that were on the wall, skirts don't really look all that bad.
That 8-inch check his thrust clearances on his 454 build.
Looks like I can see it moving from here.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Does have clearance. How much? We'll worry about that if we use this assembly short block.
Thing is, the important thing, we check it to see that that's not what it caused this. There is play in the...
She's pretty smooth.
It's been a while since we pulled one of these apart.
Yeah.
Just like our cylinder heads, we take that out, the reverse order that we put them in.
Wow. The mains look really nice.
Then just removing the oil pump there because it helps hold the crank in place. Look at that, it's got the main seal on it.
Yeah, there's your main seal.
Can't say that about that 150 I built.
It's all right. And it does have the O-rings. Nice. Yeah, the crank is in really nice shape. If I use it, I'll put new rod bearings in. These rings, the problem there is. Okay, so we scored a good crankshaft. Put 4 on this one. 3, 2, and 1. That way, when we reuse this crankshaft, we'll mate the bearings back in the same orientation. This is the lower. And this is the upper.
Those are our thrust bearings.
Yep.
Now, what's interesting on these two is it's just the bottom half of the block that has that. And it's not a one-piece bearing assembly.
I don't trust it, so we're going to use a known good block, and we'll reuse the crankshaft.
Probably not worth the re-sleeve, eh? Even.
No, because I don't know if there's a crack in this block or not. Like, it's definitely water mixing with the oil. The combustion, it's not water through the combustion chamber, because you can see both exhaust ports here are nice color. A bit on the dark side, but with the new build, there'll be a lot of extra lube going through there, so a little bit of extra oiling. And we'll wrap that up. Also, there's had 2 pistons, 50 and the 50. So standard, 50-50.
So I guess that's it for the teardown. Doesn't look like this is really reusable, or
I don't think it's worth taking a chance on it, since we have to put so much into the machining of it.
especially I think the biggest concern here is probably the water and the oil, right? And
That is the big issue, because you don't want to put $1,000 worth of machine shop work into this and
have the same thing happen again anyways.
have water in the oil and have the same issue again.
Upon initial inspection, teardown, I didn't see where water might have been coming in through. I didn't see any cracks.
No, we can't see anything, so I think we're better off putting our time and effort into another block that doesn't show signs of any water intrusion.
Does seem like we got a few good parts out of it though. That crank salvageable.
Yeah, that's good crankshaft.
That's a major
that's a
win.
major cost. I went and bought another replacement crankshaft, suspecting that was what was wrong with this, but
seems to be the only thing right with it.
it seems to be the only thing right. So I was so wrong on that call.
Yes, that's gonna conclude this episode.
And Aiden's gonna buy me lunch for having me go on camera.
Yeah,
because I am camera shy.
It's about that time. I think you did pretty good though for your first episode. I think we'll be seeing some more of you. And yeah, we'll conclude that. Maybe the next episode will be a 496 build. Sponsored by Sen. He's helping this project come along.
I know, these pockets are pretty empty. Peace out, guys.
Have a good one. Thanks for joining us.